It's simple mathematics. It's simple mathematics.
Hi and welcome to Kicking Assets, the podcast where every week we allow you to fill your footy boots as we tackle the intersection of finance and football. I'm Z, aka the Reluctant Accountant, and I will bring you some stories about finance and business deals off the pitch to give you a little bit more context about what happens on the field. I'm, of course, joined once again by my illustrious host, Mr. Rickie Hayward-Williams.
What's going on?
How are you?
I'm good.
You're
Always
looking
good.
very well.
Thank you.
Changed your shirt. Love
Yeah.
this.
I mean, just like, just keep the colours flowing.
Keep it fresh.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like. Yeah,
Add
fresh to death.
Add a little colour.
So how's the last week been for you?
Last week has been good. Obviously, there's been a lot of stuff happening in the transfer market and whatnot. But yeah, we'll get into that a bit later.
We will get into that. So as promised last week, I thought, you know what? We are here in the dirty south and let's get even dirtier. Let's talk about Wimbledon. And I didn't misspeak. I meant Wimbledon FC because you'll remember
the Dons.
from when you were, you know, in your early 20s. Wimbledon FC was indeed in South London and it all started to go wrong. So I thought, you know what, let's have a little bit of a throwback, take it back to the beginning because we like stories to start in the beginning, not mid-sentence. And yeah, let's take it from there. So obviously Wimbledon FC was around in 1889 when Nee was born and that's when they were founded, South West London.
He's wounded over there.
I mean, he would be with a heart like that. It's been here for ages, isn't it? I'm surprised he's still going. So yeah, 1889 they kind of first started. They were in something called the Southern League Championship, and they won successively between 75 and 77. And then they were elected to join what was called at the time the Football League. It was just the Football League.
Yep.
There was nothing else to it. And then what they did in 1986, when Nee was about 45. They reached the first division, which was obviously top flight football at that time. And that was a really kind of fast rise for them. They managed to go like in 4 seasons they'd gotten there, and that was really, really big. And like, what do you, because you know, when I was in history class, I used to read about Wimbledon FC.
Disrespect.
In my textbooks, I'd look about. But what do you remember about them?
So obviously I'm a Liverpool fan, but
Yeah.
my earliest memory of the crazy gang.
Yeah.
And Wimbledon was them beating Liverpool in the FA Cup final.
In, do you remember?
1988?
Yes, it was 1988. So this was, I mean, because when I was looking at my textbooks, obviously in class in history, there's that iconic picture of Vinnie Jones grabbing Gazza's balls. And it was a crazy...
Who does that? Vinnie, man.
Vinnie Jones
Have
does
a
that.
word
That's who
with
does it.
yourself. I love Vinnie.
No, he was a character, and it was.
Have you seen him in Lockstock?
Yes, of course.
We got Ross.
Yeah,
One
of course.
favourites.
And you know what I love as well? Like, people like me that grew up in my generation will only know him as an actor. We don't remember the football thing. As I said, we saw it in textbooks. So you're absolutely right. Wimbledon did beat Liverpool in 1988 in the FA, was it FA Cup final?
Yep, FA Cup.
Yeah.
And which at the time was just a massive David versus Goliath situation.
Exactly.
They were a tiny team, no disrespect, but they were a very small team. Liverpool were like, you know, absolutely kings of...
Dominating.
They were dominant. They were like
yeah.
the Manchester United of the 90s, but this was like the 80s. They were running riot, winning leagues, winning FA Cups. So the fact that they were able to overthrow them in a final was...
And everyone loves an underdog, don't you? Especially when they're full of the crazy gang. Like, you love it.
I like the crazy gang, but it hurt.
And so... So obviously that happened in 1988, and that was like one of the things that was the pinnacle. And then obviously you'll know as a Liverpool fan, sadly, the following year was the year of the Hillsborough disaster.
Yep.
And that changed a lot, especially for Wimbledon. So they came from this high of win in the FA Cup, and then this disaster happened. Obviously, like 96 people lose their life. They have this inquiry, I think it was called the Taylor Report, that came out a year or so later, and it said that one of the reasons was the overcrowding with the stands. So that you know, previously in football stadiums you could have a standing section where people essentially are just standing around, right?
Terraces, yeah.
Exactly, and the seated. So that was something that they said all stadiums need to reform. You can't have that now. Plough Lane, where Wimbledon were, they weren't going to get there. Like, it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
They weren't going to be able to upgrade the stadium, and so do you know what happened to Wimbledon? What they did?
I do know what happened to Wimbledon because I grew up in Croydon. And I grew up a couple of roads away from Selhurst Park.
Yeah.
And the mad thing about Plough Lane is my dad used to take me to Plough Lane. There used to be like a boot sale they used to do outside on a Sunday. We go there every Sunday.
Of course.
Bargains. Bargains galore.
This makes a lot of sense with you supporting Liverpool and the way that they buy players now. You know, Daddy taught him well. He was like, this is the club for us.
But yeah, I do remember. I remember they did a ground share with Crystal Palace.
Yeah, they did.
They basically, like, it was 1 week Crystal Palace would play at home, then they would play away, and then, you know, when they come in and play the home game. So yeah, it was ground share.
And that's cute. What? Sharing?
I thought it was weird.
I mean, it is, but it's also cute.
I thought it was weird only because I was just like, you've got a ground, like, just get it fixed and play at your own ground.
But money off it around first.
It's true, it's true. But I got used to it. And the mad thing about it was, there was a long period of time where Wimbledon actually surpassed Palace and got to the Premier League, or were in the Premier League, and Palace weren't. So it was weird because it was like, it's not your ground, but you're doing better than the host.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
weird.
of course, innit? You have to show people up, innit? For me, it's just a mad thing, because I was like, I need to park. I need to go Sainsbury's, please. Like, just go away. If you know about the ground, you know. So anyway, so that happened. And then in 2001, the controversial decision came, and that was to move to a place that doesn't really exist, called Milton Keynes. I'm sorry, you can't convince me. It's a myth, okay? Just like Italy. That was just invented by the Mario brothers. No, but but Milton Keynes, it's not a real place. It's not a real place, okay? And I'm sick of people trying to tell you that it is. So obviously...
A lot of roundabouts.
It just doesn't exist, okay? Magic roundabouts, they don't exist, okay? I refuse to believe in that place. So Milton Keynes, and obviously the fans were understandably upset.
Yeah,
right?
when I heard this, I was just confused. And from what I remember, their reasoning for it was, you know, the fan base isn't that big in South London, and, you know, we're going to relocate because there's not a team in the Milton Keynes area.
Yeah, of course, because they don't exist. Like.
And I just remember thinking, I'm all about, I hang my hat on history. I like history. I like things to kind of, you know, kind of be the way that they are.
Yeah.
They're a South London team, stay in South London. That's the way that I looked at it. So when they did move to Milton Keynes, I was like, yeah, this is dead. And they changed the name as well.
To MK Dons.
MK Dons, which...
It's just stupid. It just sounds fake. Like, it sounds like some little group in, like, primary school. They were like, we're the MK Dons. Yeah, like, they're just walking around and they
scratch
MK.
It sounds like an MLS team. Let's be real.
Wow, MLS. Choo, choo, choo. He's taking shots. It's the best place for it. Second Amendment, right? No. But what I was going to say, and it was really funny because I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about clubs in general. And if you think about it, have you heard of something called the Theseus paradox?
No.
Let me bring some philosophy. Right, okay, so it's a thought experiment, and it talks about whether an object that's had all of its original components replaced remains the same, right? So if you think about football, even Liverpool, any team, so you support Liverpool now, your son is a year old, I think it is. When he's 50, like you, that team will completely be... I'm sorry, he's 49, he's obviously not 50. So like, you know, don't worry, you're like, oh, I didn't get invited to his birthday. It's not happened yet, okay? No, but when he's obviously like, when he's like my age, like he's 25 or whatever, and he comes to like, want to enjoy the team, it will essentially be a completely different team.
Correct.
There'll probably be a different manager and whatever. So it's that like, is that still Liverpool? So I think, I was thinking about it, this Theseus paradox, and also if you watch Only Fools and Horses, there's like an episode. Do you used to watch that with Trigger?
Yeah.
There's one about Trigger's broom where they have a similar sort of thing, and he gets an award. This is a true story. He gets an award for his broom because he's kept it in such good condition for like 20 years, and he goes, "Yeah, I've only changed the head 14 times and the thing 17." And they're like, "How's that still the same broom?" And he goes, "Look, it is. I've got a picture of it." So it's this idea of like what makes something the same, and I think, especially with football clubs, that's what it is. Your location is that It's that being in that same place. You can't just change it, and because otherwise everything changes. It's never gonna. You're never gonna have the same players. They won't have the same nothing.
100%,
do you know what I mean?
and I think that's why there's always such a big upheaval, like a tug of war between the fans and the management or the powers that be when they want to change their ground. When they want to uproot and kind of move somewhere else to get like a bigger stadium and whatnot. There's always that. Yeah, but we've got our history here, and we've had like my granddad used to come here.
And that's the soul of it, right? Isn't it? That's what it is. And I think so. They've obviously you have this juxtaposition of people that are football fans and they love it, and this idea of, well, actually, that's what makes us what the club is, because everything else might change, but it's always there. We always have that same tradition. And then you have your music mogul called Pete Winkleman that comes in and he's like, we're going to go to a fake place called Milton Keynes. And actually he does this, and he did this deal, which if Milton Keynes existed, it would be actually quite a fantastic deal, right? If it was a real place, this would be really fascinating.
They have a snow dome in Milton Keynes.
That's not a real place. It's not a real place. It's not real. They had fake cows as well, concrete cows.
They got fake snow.
It doesn't really exist. It's Sim City. It doesn't really exist. Ice cream so good. No, I'm joking. What? I better start doing that in Milton Keynes. Just with a backdrop there, I'll make loads of money. So yeah, so he had this idea that he's going to go up there, and so he realised that Asda, for example, don't have a superstore out there. And what he did is he went out and he bought, I think it was like lease options for land out there. Okay. And he did, in the end, I think there was like 250 separate legal deals that he had to do. Wow. He needed to get Asda and IKEA on board. And what he was going to do, so he took options out for land, and then he would sell that. He would help them get their permission to be there, and then...
So hold on, rewind for a second. So he's going, right, I'm going to take this football club to Milton Keynes, but to make it work, I have to have an Asda and an IKEA.
The reason being, he needs money, right? So what you do is you take out options, and options are things like you've got an option to purchase. You haven't necessarily purchased it. Right. So this is something that, if you go onto those little property courses, sorry, I don't know, I'm being so like that, but seriously, you know what I mean? But if you go on one of those property courses, they'll be like, oh, you can just get these lease options, and basically an option to purchase something is obviously much cheaper than actually purchasing it. Right. So you're almost buying right of first refusal. Okay. So if you have an option to purchase land, you can sell that option and have the person purchase it, and you can sell it for. So what he does is he gets these options, has these negotiations, sells it to the Asda and the IKEAs. The money that comes in from that, he can then use it to build this stadium. Wow. You see what am I doing? Wow. So in theory, it's actually quite
business,
a good,
people. Business.
You see, it's a good business move. But what about Trigger's broom? Okay, like what about South London? You know what I mean. And as I said, it means like, so he did all of these deals. They got this huge out of town shopping centre. He kind of joined with the council, the fake council, the council that exists up there, and all of this stuff. And he got it done. And they got and actually, while he was doing that deal, what happened in the meantime was that Wimbledon went into administration. Yes. And so that's when he had to either decide what he was going to do, and he decided to take it on, and that's why I think his group's called Inter MK Group or something, and he owns a lot of stuff up there. I don't know, I don't go to that place because...
Can I just say, I think for me as a fan of being a native of South London and growing up close to where Wimbledon used to play and Crystal Palace, the fact that they moved, I wasn't a fan of it, like I said. Yeah. And the best thing to come out of that move for me was the fact that when they did move, there was a big movement where people went, well, you're not going to take our club. You can be MK Dons, but we're going to start a new thing. And they started called AFC Wimbledon.
That is fantastic.
Which was amazing because anybody, when they first started, anybody could go and just like apply and try out. And do trials.
Stuff. Amazing. Yeah. It was amazing.
And now they're actually in the Football League.
You see it there? And they're also back at Plough Lane.
Yes,
they are back at
I knew that, which is
exactly. But they've come because South, we don't mess about, We've got to pray, and it's bigger in the South. And actually, I've got a fun fact for you. AFC Wimbledon are the current record holders for the longest unbeaten run in all levels of United Kingdom senior football. So I know Arsenal had theirs. I think they remained unbeaten for 78 matches between February 2003 and December 2004. Wow. So shout out to them. And that's the legacy of Vinnie Jones, because he's like, nah, we're not winning this. We're going to go down like fighting. And I love that. But I think even Pete, whatever his name is, Winkle Tinkle, he he even admits that, you know what, like, it's not the same club. Like, MK Dons is not the same club. And actually, it was, I think he thinks from a business point of view, it was a good decision, but it wasn't a good decision from a football and a fan point of view. And I think there's kind of a little bit of contrition about that now. But they rose from the ashes, like Phoenix. I rate that still. You see how we move in South? You see how we move? That's how we are. We're not letting it go. So so that was the kind of little bit about the story. And I think it's nice because I think they didn't give up over that kind of 20-year period or whatever it was. They came back and they're back at Plough Lane. So. Back
at Plough Lane and back doing decent things in the community.
Love it. We love to see it.
Love to see that.
So that's all I've got on the Dons. But what have you got for us?
All right, so not so long ago, we heard that Theo Walcott, amazing footballer, decided to hang up his boots. So we know that he started out at Southampton. He was a bit of a kid prodigy, burst onto the scene, was famously taken to the 2006 World Cup, I think it was.
Okay.
And he was taken instead of, I think it was Darren Bent, who was, at the time, the leading British or English goal scorer in the league. So it was like, you're going to take a kid who is unproven, hasn't played a game in the Premier League yet, but you're going to take him to the World Cup above a guy who's like doing bits at the minute. So that was massive controversy. However, I digress. He then went on to play for Arsenal, had an amazing career with Arsenal, did great things with them. Never really hit the heights that he should have, in my opinion.
At Arsenal?
Just in general. Like I felt like he was going to go on to be like an England great. I really did, because he had the most amount of talent. He did great things for Arsenal. You can never take that away from him, but they didn't really win. He was part of an Arsenal era that was quite, compared to the era before, the Invincibles and Thierry Henry's and the eras, his team didn't really reach those heights. So don't get me wrong, they did good things, but they didn't really reach the heights that they should have. And then I remember it ending quite strangely for him at Arsenal. It was like, it kind of, for me, it felt like it came out of the blue. He left the club. I can't remember if it was under Wenger or Emery, I'm not sure. But he left the club and he went to Everton. Okay. Now, there was a long period of time when he was supposed to be, apparently he was a Liverpool fan growing up. Oh. Apparently, I don't know how true that is.
What can you try claiming?
There was a big period of time where we were courting him to come to Liverpool, because apparently, even though he was a winger, like a right winger, apparently he grew up as a striker, and we needed a striker at the time, and there was talk that he was going to come to us and get played in the striker's position. It never happened. But so when he went to Everton, Liverpool's like fierce City rivals, it burnt me. Like it hurt a lot. Sophia, if you're watching, you sold it. But yeah, he's a great pro. He played at Everton. It didn't really work out for him. I think he had a lot of injuries. So then that kind of like came to an end, and then he went back full circle and went back to Southampton, to his boyhood club. Again, injuries played a big part, but when he did play, he did well. But yeah, I think he was released just at the end of last season, and he's decided to hang up his boots. So, Theo Walcott, we salute you, my friend.
We do salute you. Although I feel like there was a few shots there about the Arsenal thing, and Justin was tight when he was talking.
I can see Justin wincing in the background. But Justin knows what time it is. He knows.
He's looking up like some facts to come back at you with.
But no, seriously, big up Theo Walcott, because he was a great player, great professional, and he's an amazing pundit as well. So we're probably going to see him a lot more in the future. So yeah, big up Theo Walcott.
Shout out to you, man.
Also, Neymar. So Neymar is part of that whole circus at PSG that Mbappe's part of. So, you know, PSG, not so long ago, they decided that they were going to try and create this, what do they call it? The Galacticos kind of era, where they just get the biggest and best stars from around the world, from around the globe, and put them all in one team and hope it works. Yeah. They had Messi, they had Neymar, they had Mbappe. It didn't work. Okay. It's now been disbanded. Obviously, Mbappe is trying to force a move out of the club that we know. We've spoken about it. Messi has gone to Inter Miami. He's gone to the MLS. He's doing great over there. We can talk about him shortly. But Neymar looks like he's gone. And I get this with Galacticos. I feel like whenever you've got players of this massive stature, if a lot is being spoken about another player, they have to try and create a narrative to bring the spotlight back onto them. Ronaldo did it at Real Madrid. I think when Gareth Bale came, he
Yeah.
kind of created a big thing because he was like, you know, you've just signed Gareth Bale. He's now the most expensive player in the world.
Yeah.
However, I think I'm the best player in the world. I should be on more money than him. So he creates a narrative and yeah. And
Too many egos.
Yeah, so many egos. But I feel like Neymar's done this again because he used to play for Barcelona.
Okay.
And he used to play with Lionel Messi at Barcelona.
Right.
But because Lionel Messi at that time was at the peak of his powers, he was winning Ballon d'Ors, like best player in the world. And Neymar felt that to take himself to that next level, he had to move and kind of like have his own space. So that's why he went to PSG. But when he got to PSG, he didn't count on the fact that Kylian Mbappe his star was gonna rise. So he's kind of been in Mbappe's shadow the whole time he's been there. So now that Mbappe's out having all this talk about going to Real Madrid for record-breaking amounts of money, I feel like Neymar's gone. It ain't about Mbappe. It's still about me. I'm still the guy.
Sad.
And he wanted to kind of engineer a move back to Barcelona.
Okay.
Now Barcelona are struggling with FFP. They're struggling.
Ain't got no money.
They ain't got no P.
They
got no P. So even though he wanted to go back, I think he was trying to put it out into the press to kind of see if it could happen. They can't afford him. So where's he gone? Saudi Arabia. He's gone to Saudi Arabia. He's gone to Saudi Al Hilal. I've got some of the stats here. He's getting a massive 2.5 million a week in a 2-year deal worth 314 million over 2 years. So I think he's all right.
Listen,
I think he's okay.
let me just say, you know what? Because you know what and I don't know why this just popped into my head, because when you were talking about him, I was like, oh, always a bridesmaid, never a bride, yeah? But that gave Camilla vibes. Are you crazy? He was like, what? I'm going to play the long game. I'm going to be queen. He said, let me go to a smaller pool and I'll be the biggest fish.
Bearing in mind, he was, when he moved from Barcelona to PSG, his transfer fee is still the biggest transfer fee ever recorded. It was like over 200 million. So
listen,
his total transfer kind of like fees, he's the most expensive player of all time. And that's being reflected in his salary. So even though he didn't go back to a team that's competitive, really, he's gone to the Saudi Pro League.
Who really won?
He's won. But he's only 31. He's been around for a long time. He was a child prodigy. So it feels like he's older than what he is. He's only 31, but he's gone to the Saudi Pro League. For me, he's gone too soon.
Queen Camilla. Listen, that's all I'm getting from this, because he was just like, listen, okay, cool, watch, let me just bide my time. And he's there, 2.5 million.
Yep, 2.5 million a week.
You know what? He could just come out and create his own league. Like, he could just buy an MLS franchise and play there.
Well, you say MLS franchise. Obviously, we know that Messi is at Inter Miami. And I see the stuff on Instagram. I see that the clips and stuff. It's just a Hollywood circus over there, isn't it?
They love
it's just a Hollywood circus.
They love that.
I've seen like who did I see like chilling with David Beckham? Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon, the Williams sisters. DJ Khaled was there not so long ago.
He's everywhere.
Like,
though, isn't he?
it's just absolutely like, you know, it's for me, it's not top tier football, but Messi's doing his thing. He's scoring goals at it.
You know what? Like, not every day. Like, he's done what he needed to do. Won the World Cup. Yeah.
He did win the
Won
World
the World
Cup.
Cup. He's had his Ballon d'Ors. He's reached like. What else is there? Sometimes
It's semi-retirement.
chill.
It's semi-retirement.
You know what? Sometimes chill. Like, it's not every day that you need to be striped. Like, I don't know. I don't dream of late night that way. I genuinely, I'm good, you know?
Do you know what? I don't mind it. Like, he's earned the right to do whatever he wants to do in the game. The thing that not annoys me, but the thing that I kind of snigger at is that he'll score a goal, and although it's amazing, he's playing against much lesser players now, so it's not really a level.
I hear you, but I feel like because as good as I am at football, and we know that I'm very. Listen.
Why?
Because you know it's true that I don't know why we have to do this every time.
When this podcast is done, we're going to do something.
I said yes
we're going to sort something out where we're going to film some stuff.
I said yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Can you not even see from my physique? Like, who are you going to believe, me or your lion eyes? Like, come on. So basically, if I was playing against like 4 and 5-year-olds, I'll blast it same way. So I hear him. Like, I don't really. I see that, Messi. Like, just do what you're doing, innit? Because You shouldn't have got on the field then if you can't play. So it is what it is. So I respect that. Messi, just do it, innit, and take all the accolades.
I'm not hating on Messi. I am hating on my club, Liverpool, though, because obviously I told you about the massive transfer saga that didn't go our way in the last episode with Moses Caicedo and Romeo Lavia that both ended up at Chelsea. So we are still in a rebuild. We did buy a player, like I said in the last episode. His name's Endo Wataru, Japanese captain. We bought him for 19 million, but he's not like a first team starter. So we're still trying to buy one, maybe two players that can be first teamers.
Yeah.
And they're looking at a player called Ryan Gravenberch, who is at Bayern Munich, the team that Harry Kane's just gone to.
Yeah.
Now, this guy, he hasn't played that much over the last year. He's been kind of like a sub for most of the last season or so. So we don't really know if he's in good form. We know that he's a good player, but he hasn't shown it yet. If that makes sense. But he's a massive earner in terms of like his wages.
Okay.
So that might be a bit of a stumbling block, but apparently he is the guy that Liverpool are trying to go for. So
we'll see how it goes. I'll pray. So what we've had Theo Walcott, Neymar, Messi, Liverpool. See, I'm ready. I know all of these things that are going on. You know what's... Go on.
No, go.
No. You know what? I just think about Messi because I just think about like the whole World Cup thing. Messi's story, and I've said this before, Messi's story is like the ideal immigrant story because he came over from Argentina originally. Obviously, that's who he won the World Cup with. So they were also benefits of what... when he left Argentina, the place was in crisis. Like they had like 3,000% inflation. Like we think 10%. Like it was crazy. I'm not even just being hyperbolic at this point. It was genuinely like 3,000% or something like this. And like he had like growth hormones or something like that. He had like an issue, didn't he? And
so Barcelona when they decided that they found this wonder kid from Argentina, they were like, obviously they could see that there was a problem with his growth, and they decided to invest in him and give him growth hormones and stuff. So a lot of Ronaldo like fans always say, oh, if you're gonna compare the two, Messi had growth hormones, isn't it? Messi had growth. He's a test tube baby.
He's a test tube baby.
Which, come on.
You know what? That's really stupid. And this is just as a side, really stupid. My cousin, he was premature. He was like 3 months premature. And like sometimes he'll speak to his mum and he'll be like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't talk to me that I was a preemie. He's 27 or something like that. I don't know how. He's like 25. And he'll be like, I was a preemie baby. I almost didn't make it. Like, bro, go over it. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is what that's giving. Like, we need to move on. But yeah, so no, I was just saying, like, and it's so funny. Like, his story, you can chart his rise through football with the money that came into football. Because when he got here, it was when, like, they loosened the thing with the rules on foreign players, when sponsorship started coming in and whatever. And he's ridden that wave. So shout out to you, Messi.
Yeah, big up to Messi. Lastly, Kylian Mbappe. I have to mention it just because I have to, because he's arguably the best player in the world right now. So we know that he said that he's not going to sign another contract at PSG, and PSG are doing everything in their power to try and salvage whatever they can to make sure that they can kind of benefit financially from this player. Because they don't want him to leave for free, which he's threatening to do if he doesn't sign a new contract. Now, what they've said is, we are going to get rid of the whole Galactico kind of like era, and we want you to spearhead it, and we want it to be spearheaded with French-born players. So we want it to be like, because the Ultras have been on their case as well. And they're trying to get the Ultras back on side. The Ultras didn't really like the Messi era. They didn't like Lionel Messi. Because they were just like, he doesn't look like he's trying. He doesn't look like he really cares about the club. He didn't. He's just there for the money. He's just there for the money. He's there for the P. So what they're doing now, the hierarchy at PSG, they're trying to go about buying, transferring as many like top tier French-born players into their team to kind of like create this new era, and they're trying to entice Kylian Mbappe, and I think they're trying to offer him shares in the club now as well. And they're doing the most. They're doing the most.
Aren't they?
But what I have heard is before the window closes, this is unconfirmed. But I have heard that Real Madrid are going to swoop before the window closed for around 100 million. So
this is interesting. So this is something that we're going to report on in the next episode, definitely. We'll know whether that happens. Oh, okay. Very interesting. And what was he holding out for? I know he wanted a Real Madrid, but was there a number involved, or it just hadn't come in?
Well, I don't think there's been like a fee like kind of bounded about yet. I've heard that it was like between 150 to 200 million in terms. Okay. That's how much he's worth really in today's market. If you look at someone like Declan Rice, who went for 100 million, Harry Kane went for 100 million. Kylian Mbappe should be worth at least 150 million, in my opinion. But no one said anything yet. But I think what was supposed to happen with Real Madrid, they had to sell a few players to create that financial package, and they haven't done that. So where they're going to get this money from, who knows?
Time's ticking.
Who knows?
Clock's ticking. Okay. Well, I mean, we're going to have to leave it there, obviously, but we will be back, and it will be the final episode. We've managed to get through. I know.
Final episode?
Please don't cry. I know you're going to miss me. It's fine. It's fine. You can just rewatch old episodes if you want to see me again. Like, it's what Nee does. He just has them on his phone, background screen. So, yeah, just rewatch all episodes if you want to see me again. Exactly. It's getting weird. I'm not going to lie to you. His wife hates it. So, yeah, so we will be back next week for the final episode. We'll have something amazing and special. So hopefully you'll join us, and also we'll hopefully have concluded this Mbappe story.
Hopefully.
We'll see how it goes. But until next week, we'll see you then.
Kick in, asset. Asset.
This episode was produced by Nee Odartei Evans, Justin Chinyere, sound recorded by Ben Ring, and was filmed in Renaissance Studios in London.
Asset. Asset. It's simple mathematics.